Everybody, welcome back to Daily Deck Build, this series where I deck build almost every day, aka whenever the fuck I feel like it. I'm trying out a new format today. We're building the Wandering Rescuer, who has the unique ability to have Flash Ink Invoke and give a bunch more creatures hexproof. Now, I'm going to try a little something different, where normally before, I would just sort of be like, okay, I'm going to go to the Arctic page and go to Scryfall, just build this weird-ass fucking deck, and while you sit there and watch me add cards to the Architect page. But that's not really fun. So instead, I'm going to just cut around if anything interesting happens in the deck building process, and at the end, I'm going to sort of like zoom through that, and at the end, I'm going to have all the cards. I'm going to go through standout cards that are like more neat, some spice, kind of how the deck I think is going to operate, sort of like analyze it. So that's kind of what's going to happen this time. So without further ado, if my mic doesn't break, I will go ahead and get on it. So I'll see you on the other side. Alright, so I think I have a pretty good deck here. I sort of went for a human tribal theme, mostly, with a artifact sub-theme. So, of course, our kind of unique game plan with our commander is, as long as we have the mana available in creatures in the battlefield to cast it, we can sort of dodge removal and prevent people from interacting with us easily, because if they go to target us, we can react with a flash speed hexproof. And the creatures used to convoke out our commander will get that hexproof because they're capped. So we're going to abuse this by playing vehicles, essentially. I have a few vehicles in here. Cultivator's Caravan, Mighty Servant of whatever, Reckoner, Bankbuster, Smuggler's Copter, so that way we can, an Aerial Surveyor, so we can sort of tap our creatures on demand, getting hexproof. Additionally, what's another type of creatures attack? Combat. So we're going to be killing people. So we have a lot of more cheaper creatures that like to make more creatures. For example, Adeline makes more creatures, and then we have a lot of creatures that buff other creatures like Benish Marshall. We have protection creatures like Boromir. We have removal creatures like Cathar Commander. These are all humans, so they benefit from our tribal payoffs like Herald's Horn. We have Coppercoat Band cards, more protection of Valor Faith, all this sort of stuff. And so the idea is we kind of want to play all these humans out, smash face, and then we can just and as long as we're attacking, we're gonna get hexproof. And some other neat stuff in the creature section, just going through here. We have, of course, Witch Enchanter, which is an MDFC, but also we have this Ultech Matter Weaver, which will let us make a creature every time we cast a creature, which we have a lot of creatures. We have, Odric, Myril, and we have Moonsugar Cavalry is a big finisher, which it's a white Crater Hoof. It's just so good. And we have for card draw, we got Minor the Meek, Mangaro, we got Lauren for card draw. This is kind of card draw, this is ramp, this is creatures, all that sort of stuff. And the artifact section, of course, I already mentioned the vehicles, you have some staples, but some neat cards that I think are a little underrated are this Dowsing Dagger here. This is just a Guild Lotus for 2 mana, with the only requirement being run creatures. It's really, 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 really good. You should really run it. We have Gear Per Orrery, which is a neat card. That's not just for group hug. Put it in white kids, because the ability to let you play an additional land on each of their turns might seem bad, and it kind of is, but by the time you're at turn 4, which is when you're going to play this thing, that sort of like ability isn't as impactful anymore. It's still impactful, but the fact that you get it too in a color that usually doesn't get that ability means that you're still going to be benefiting just as much as everyone else, especially with the fact that you will be drawing 3 cards when you have no cards in your hand. White's pretty good at burning all their cards. You'll pretty often, unless you have like a board wipe, we have 2 board wipes over here, but unless you have like a board wipe in your hand, it's pretty easy to run out because you don't really have good card draw in white, and you're usually pretty low curve. So you're going to be drawing 3 cards up this thing like a lot. You have Godsend, which is funny. We also have Horde of Gondor creatures, Earth Incubator, Vanquish Banner. We have this Veterans Armament, also a spicy card I don't see people run. We have some soldiers in this deck, like I saw like 30% of our humans are also soldiers, so that's the plus side. But like this is like a 2 mana buff that gives a creature like +9/+9. It is insane. I don't know how people don't like know about this card. Moving to the enchantments, True Conviction's funny. Trouble in Pairs is a card drawn like a million conditions. Rule of Law is a card I debated a lot putting in this deck. Because on one hand, it slows us down too, and we have a lot of cheap creatures. But on the other hand, our commander does have Flash, so we can play that on someone else's turn. And also, this really cripples non-creature based decks pretty hard. Because a lot of, especially like Storm and Graveyard, they're going to want to play multiple cards every turn in order to like get their most benefit. While creatures, you just drop a creature and then smash people. So I think it's a good inclusion. If I play with it and I find that I don't like it, then I will kill it. Reconnaissance is free vigilance on all your creatures, which might seem like anti-synergy with our commander, but I feel like the ability to control when our creatures are tapped and untapped and effectively attack every single turn without any consequence is just way too good. We also have Caretaker's Talent. We have some token maker. It's not really a token deck, but the ability to spend 4 mana and draw a card and make a token copy of any creature is just really good. We have some removal here, some protection, some board wipes. But what's interesting here is some of our utility lands that I want to draw attention to. Of course, we got classic Windbrisk Kite's War Room. But we also got this Tower of the Magistrate, which a lot of people don't know about. Target creature gains protection from artifacts on a turn. That's really good because artifacts, there's a lot of them. And remember, protection protects you from death, damage, equipped or enchanted, blocked or targeted. So if you're attacking into artifact creatures, all of a sudden it's unblockable. It takes no damage on blocking from artifact creatures. And if you target an opponent's creature, all equipment falls off, which is really funny to do at instant speed. Very, very good card. We also have 3 Tree Cities, Shipet Dunes, Scavenger Grounds, Running Graveyard Hate, Rogue's Passage, Path of Ancestry, Nykthos. This card, Monumental Plunge, I've never seen before, but it seems pretty good because we can spend money to refill our, hand. And I said spend money, spend mana. And we'll probably have a Plains, same thing with Castle Ardenvale. Now this Mirror Pool card, this is insane. Like, this card is busted. It enters tapped and it's closed, which is a huge downside, but the ability to copy your creatures and instants and sorceries is just ridiculous on a land. Even if you need colors to activate it, we're running more than enough utility lands to jam this thing. Mikakoro draws cards. Core Haven is like insane defense. Field of Ruin. These are just better planes. Buried Ruin because we have artifacts. So kind of how this deck I think plays is early on we're kind of just trying to hit land drops and drop some of these cheap creatures like Guide of Souls, Soul Lord, and Champion of the Parish. Then we sort of just want to curve normally, hit our artifacts that are typically around 2 or 3 mana, and then play our creatures, and then we sort of have like this sort of like mass of like just mid-range stuff on the board, and then it's hard to interact with those things because we have Flash Speed Hexproof and a 3/4 double strike that we can flash in to cause some real trouble. And then sort of in the finishing section, we eventually want to ramp out, not really ramp out, but curve out into a Moonshaker Cavalry, True Conviction, Cathar's Crusade, stuff like that. Meanwhile, we control the board with our Rule of Law and our mini creatures that have control attached to them. Meanwhile, we're pretty safe because we can give any of our creatures hexproof very, very easily. Really, the big problem is board wipes. We do have a Flawless Maneuver, but of course, we're obviously not going to get that every game. I thought about putting Unbreakable Formation in this deck, and I might switch out the Rule of Law for that if it comes to it. Otherwise, I might get rid of the Urza's Incubator, because while it is like a crazy tribal card, a lot of our creatures don't really have too many colorless pips. For so far, doesn't really do anything, but I'll have to see. So without much else to say, I think that's kind of what I wanted to cover here. Thank you all for joining me for this episode of Daily Deck Build. If you sort of liked this more style, where I kind of just show you the deck and talk through it rather than like, oh, I'm adding cards in Architect, then, let me know. I will see you all if I ever do it next time, because I could get hit by a bus or just lose motivation to stop recording. All right, bye.